right, so I'm gonna show you another recipe with 5 ingredients or less. And this recipe that I'm gonna be showing you is actually a cornmeal crusted chicken nugget with a blackberry kind of dip. So I'm gonna show you the chicken nugget part first. Chicken nuggets are actually really easy to make at home, and you don't need to go out and buy the stuff that you usually buy. We're using chicken tenders today. You can use chicken tenders or you can use chicken breasts. I find chicken tenders are a lot easier to work with when we're doing something like this, just because they're already cut into strips for you. And then I've got a mixture of cornmeal and salt and pepper. That's it. So this actually makes it gluten-free if you think about it. If you're using gluten-free cornmeal, that is. You can add other flavors to this, but just to make this 5 ingredients or less, it's just salt and pepper, and that's it. One of the fun things, you can add Parmesan cheese. All right, so we're gonna take care of our chicken first. You're gonna take your strips of chicken and line them all up, just like that, just to make this super easy and quick. We're just gonna cut through and make kind of bite-sized pieces out of this. Okay, and then you're just gonna grab your bowl of cornmeal, add it in there, and then just toss it around, just to coat them. So they're not gonna be super duper coated or super duper covered in cornmeal. You could by doing an egg wash. So if you wanted like a super crust on this, what you could do is take this, dip it in a little bit of egg wash, and then put it right back in here. That way you've got 2 coatings of this great cornmeal. All right, and then I'm gonna get my baking sheet ready. So I've got a baking sheet just like that. I'm actually just gonna squirt oil. You can spray it if you want to. It's really up to you how you wanna do this. And then you're gonna take your chicken and just lie them around. Oops. They shouldn't be next to each other. You give them a little bit of room. If you've got an air fryer, you can do this in your air fryer too. Make them super duper crispy. And you can also use different types of meat or protein. So for example, you can use tofu and do the exact same thing. Tempeh would also be good, but make sure your tempeh is nice and seasoned before you do something like this, because it doesn't taste very good. All right, so I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna pop that in the oven. And that's gonna take about 12 to 15 minutes, depending on the size of your chicken. So just wait on it. But while we're waiting, we're gonna make this really cool blackberry kind of dip to go with it. I like using frozen berries. I just find that frozen berries have more flavor to them, and you can buy them all year round. If you've got really good blackberries though, definitely go ahead and use them. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use them, okay? So use the fresh ones if you have. But I'm gonna put these in a pot, just like that. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of honey to it. So I'm just gonna make this a little bit sweeter, just because the blackberries might not be too sweet. And I'm cooking this down just so that I can mash up the berries too. So I'm gonna go in and kind of mash them up. Now think of all the different things that you can add to make this even more flavorful, or kind of bring it up a notch. What would be really good is an extra amount of pepper. So if you added like a little bit of extra pepper, it'd be a little bit of a spice with this berry. You can also add different herbs if you wanted to, but for kids, I find that this actually ends up being really good, especially if you blend it. I'm just mashing it up, but if you want, you can go ahead and even blend this inside a mixer or a food processor. So I'm just waiting for this to come to a boil. That's all that I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna add my secret ingredient. Not really secret, it's a whole grain mustard. So I like this whole grain French mustard. And we're gonna add that inside, and that will also just give it that extra oomph that you need. It's got a little bit of acidity to it, a little bit of spice. Just makes everything taste better. All right. So now that my berries are kind of mushed up and ready to go, I'm gonna add this stuff in. Technically, you don't need to even cook this on the stove. I just like it because I feel like it brings the flavors in together a little bit better. So that's all we're gonna do. And then I'm gonna show you what the chicken nuggets look like that I've made ahead of time. So I'm gonna let that simmer for a couple minutes, just so that the flavors can really come together. to show you the chicken nuggets that I made ahead of time for you. So I did it just like that, and they're all ready to go. What you'll notice is that some pieces that might not have that much oil will be a little bit more white. If you're afraid of that color, you don't like the way that looks, just spray it with a little bit more oil, or you can even just brush it with a little bit of oil. So I think that's it for the sauce, and that's it for the chicken nuggets. I'm gonna turn that off, and then I'm gonna grab myself a plate. I'm gonna put some chicken nuggets right on top. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of the sauce, put it in a little container. And you can even take this sauce and use it as a spread for a sandwich. And there you've got yourself chicken nuggets and a little blackberry sauce. Enjoy!